Welcome to Behind the Huddle, where we dive into the minds of coaches and directors here at Northwest. I'm your host, Boston Mendenhall, and today we have the privilege of talking to boys head golf coach, Coach Combs. He's been coaching for over 13 years, 9 in Woodward Granger, and 4 here at Northwest, where he's led the Wolves to a state tournament all of the past 3 years, and probably most impressive, personally qualifying for the 2022 Youth Mid-Amateur Championship. During this interview, a student came in, so sorry about that. But, that's all part of teaching and what coaches do, But anyways, without further ado, this is Behind the Huddle with Coach Combs. This amateur championship, welcome, Coach Combs.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's kind of fun to share some of this with the people here at Northwest, so looking forward to it.
Before you kind of got your job here at Northwest and being the coach and everything, what kind of initially sparked your love for the game of golf?
I think not just golf, but just anything athletic or activity related. I think it's a really special thing to be a part of teams growing up that way, whether it was myself playing in football, basketball, golf, baseball growing up, or if it was anything that I could be a part of a team. I love that environment, and it kind of got me into coaching. And I found golf so uniquely challenging that it was something that I developed a bigger passion for as I continued to get older, and I wanted to share that passion and help continue to grow the game with a lot of the younger generation that could learn from what I got to experience as well, but also just the joy of being able to compete and be challenged mentally and physically in all those aspects of the sport. So really love the game for all those aspects.
Mm-hmm. Initially, you got this job here at Northwest. You were coaching at Woodward Granger for 9, if that's correct, right?
Yep.
What kind of what allowed you to make the decision to change here to Northwest, and why would you take the job here versus having a job there?
Yeah. So I think it kind of, as you kind of mentioned, my first career wasn't in teaching, and I love the fact that my impact on young people and those I'm around are significant and valuable in a lot of different ways. So I really enjoyed the fact that each day, that whether it's one child or if it's 30, my impact is going to be something that hopefully is lifelong. And I loved what I was able to do as far as doing some middle school coaching, and it kind of sparked my interest. It actually ultimately ended up being because I lost my job during the recession and needed to rethink about how I wanted to pursue things, and it worked out great, and I've loved, this is year 14, and I've loved every minute of it. I think the opportunity to get here to Northwest, it kind of was just where it was the right time and the right opportunity presented itself. I had built a great program at Woodward Granger from a teaching standpoint. I got to coach there, and I coached basketball at Dowling, and my family has always lived here in West Des Moines area in the Waukee district, and the opportunity just presented itself that it gave me a chance to be a part of this district, and I jumped at the opportunity when Mr. Ross called. So it was a perfect change at a time that I think it worked out great for my family and I.
Great. When you got the job here, you obviously previously built a program, which is something that a lot of people haven't done, building up to something where you had a lot of state qualifiers and everything like that. What were kind of your core pillars or things you wanted to build this new, fresh, clean slate Northwest team on?
Yeah, I think it was just something that on every one of my practice plans, I had done some coaching classes, and on every one of my practice plans at the top, I have on there that we're always going to have that positive attitude, a focused effort, and a growth mindset. Golf, to me, is always and will always be the hardest sport to play. The concept is so simple, but yet so challenging. I coach basketball here too, but a hoop stays 10 foot. The conditions never change in the sense that it's always indoors. In golf, every single shot is different. Every single shot in course is unique. And it is so mentally challenging where a little ball just sits there and you got to hit it into a hole. And so to build those three kind of, I would say, core elements of it are huge. And then as a lot of my players would continue to talk about too, just building someone's character and integrity and the way that they handle themselves is so valuable to not only the sport but just to aspects of their life. So there's a lot of that's taught, that's focused on, that's made sure, and I think that the kids here have really done a great job just exemplifying that. The comments that people make about our kids and the way that they handle themselves, conduct themselves, whether it's as simple as a thank you at the end of a round to the way they interact with the community and the people that we've been lucky to meet. I think they've done an awesome job just buying into just what it is to be a great person and to know that the impact is beyond just the sport that they're playing. So be able to communicate that with the kids and have them be a part of that has been awesome. And I think that's only grown ever since the first group started. I think that was a great chance. Like you said, it's a clean slate, but I think that we've done a really good job as a collective group being able to establish those just core foundational things that are going to be great on the course and into what they're going to do later in life.
Kind of talking about now a bit more of like the game and like the actual aspects of your coaching. How do you, especially in the game of golf, because whenever I golf, I usually get so mad. It's like
yeah,
terrible. It's like you're not playing against anyone else. You're playing against yourself in the course. How do you, or what do you use, or like drills do you have, or anything like that in practice to like build these players' confidence? Because especially going into a varsity level where you're gonna have people who are a lot better than you, it's gonna be hard.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is having the effort that you put into it needs to be really focused on the time that they're practicing, not just showing up to practice. I've never been a big believer in, you can practice for 3 hours and it's going to get you better. It's all about the way that you focus and the effort that you provide in those moments of practice. So everything that we try to do has a very clear objective, again, something that we're trying to accomplish and grow on. And then everything is also competitive. It's competitive against themselves. It's competitive against a teammate of theirs. And even to the point of, what's the outcome if you don't hit that goal, that objective, of how do you recover from that. So during practice, it's a lot of that building blocks of challenging them to constantly, again, improve, constantly find that next step. Then also on the course, one thing that the kids have found very unique is that I never ask them how they're doing. I actually only talk about whatever the next shot is, because we can't play defense. We have no other way to control an opponent, and we also can't control what just happened. If we think about golf, and you've played golf too, and so do I, and if we start to digress and think about, oh man, I gave that one away, or oh, I hit a bad shot, or oh man, that water's in the, we're going to have a bad mental approach to whatever we're going to do next. So I never know the results of a meet until everybody's in off the course. I never know how they're doing. I can kind of anticipate because I can see their body language. I can see how they are focusing. But everything is about the next shot. Not that you forget about what you did, in the sense that you still need to learn from it. You still need to reflect during the round to know, hey, you know what? That was the same shot it was on 13. And I can build on that and, make the most focused effort that you can on the next one, though, because that's the only thing that we can control. So a lot of that is simulated in practice so that on the course, the mental toughness and the mental challenge that you brought up with golf is hopefully contained as much as possible so they can be successful.
Mm-hmm. And you kind of talked about this. You talked about this earlier about how being in year 4, a lot of these guys have bought in. Initially, when you're starting this team, like how did you find ways to like get the team to like come together and truly be just have a strong team culture? And like what did you kind of want out of the guys kind of starting from the beginning?
Yeah, I wanted them to remind them that they're part of a team. So many times we see golf individual. We see it on the PGA Tour. We see people recognized all the time for their individual accomplishments. But high school and college golf is special in the sense that it's a team game. And so anytime, again, at practice, you're doing things together. It's not individual. It's not something where you're separating yourself from one another. There are times for that, but you have to be interdependent on one another. And so the ability for them to see the value in team, that everybody matters, that everybody's a part of it, whether you're the 18th player, you're the best player. Your day isn't always going to be perfect, and you need that other person to be there to pick you up, regardless of if it's the attitude, if it's the score. Like typically, even on the course, my hope is that as they communicate with one another, if they see each other, it's about, hey, keep it up, play well. Oh, how you doing? Oh, I'm playing bad. Like, it's all about just doing those things together and really making sure that we're collectively bought into it. Whether it's as simple as, you can do all the team bonding things that you want, but you got to be able to recognize the value of supporting one another, being there for one another, the way that you are competing against them, the way that you're challenging them as well as yourself. And again, just to be able to have fun with this game. It's so hard. It's so mentally challenging. If you don't have that fun and joy of playing, you kind of lose track of why you're doing it. And I think that all of those things, as we started with guys like Drew Oleshko and guys that are that came and started off. Henry Manning was, I think, one of the first juniors too, and Drew and Colby Carlson and Price and all these guys that came before the younger guys that have come up really just took that and set a great example for others too. I thought that was fantastic because, again, kids are going to listen to their teammates a lot of times more than the head coach. We're kind of sometimes the bad guy, and I think that if they see great leadership and the great people that have come before them, I think that that's such a valuable thing that we've been able to have and have such great kids to be able to take on those roles. So it's been great.
How do you? I know this is really hard for like basically every sport too, but this one's probably a bit more challenging in the sense that how do you balance, especially as a coach, or just have your players balance between competing against each other, but also still having that level of fun? Because especially with golf, because it's very easy to get down on yourself because it's very black and white of whether your hit was good or your hit was not as good as previous times.
Yeah.
So how do you kind of instruct either your players and your captains to kind of hold someone accountable while also trying to lift them up, or how do you do that as a coach?
Yeah, I think that again is just being able to create the mindset that, hey, what happened? How do you reflect on it? And then let's go to the next one. I think you have to keep practicing that way to recognize what it is. But again, the competitions that we do at practice, they're designed also to be fun in that regard. They're designed to be something where they see success at the same time as they might see failure. That there's a joy to it when you win personally, but there's a joy when you beat your teammate. But also knowing that in that same regard, I'm going to come back and I'll beat them on the next one. And I think that delicate balance of being able to see a fun game and a fun competition at the same time being able to, that's actually something that's building your abilities, has been fun to try to create because it takes a lot of creativity to think about that as a player. You're on the range, how do you make sure that what you're doing has value, and to recreate that on whether it's there or on the course. So even on the golf course, we don't a lot of times just play 9 holes. There's things that we try to do on there where it's something different. It's something that you're hitting shots that are in a round that you're maybe hitting multiple occurrences, just to kind of constantly create those moments of success, but also those moments of challenge that they are going to be almost prevented from feeling that success, but know that it's right there in front of them. And I think that continuing to try to help them see again what's next is so valuable to them, going, hey, you know what, this is still fun because I do and am capable of hitting those shots. I am going to have success at some point in time because there's so much failure in this game of, you're going to hit probably 12 to 13 shots around that are just not the way you want them. They're not going to be perfect, but then you're going to have that next moment of success if you keep your mind focused on that.
So kind of moving to how you build teams and everything like that. Have you played chess before, I'm guessing?
I've played a little bit. My family, though, was big card games like cribbage and euchre and some of those things. So not a ton of chess in my background.
Yeah. So when you're playing a game of chess, usually there's kind of 3 different levels to it. there's different strategy used. There's something called the opening, the mid game, the end game.
Okay.
And so this is kind of similar to like a season. So like in your opening, how do you look at your roster and like with the guys you have, and how do you figure out how to select the best roster so you can put your best foot forward when going and competing?
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse. We're very blessed in the community that we have so many kids interested in the game. I think, honestly, every year that we've had tryouts, we've had in between 70 to 80 kids, 9 through 12 tryout. It's a lot of kids that have and want to play the game of golf. Feasibleness is just not possible with facilities and space and all of that and time and even just from the ability to have people to coach and help that out. So it's a blessing to have all of that. It sucks because we do have to try to find a way to make sure that we do find a way to help make sure that we get the best group that is going to represent our team and program. And that way we are able to try to address it in that I look for just more than beyond what they score. Whether it's the skills that they possess that can be built upon, their passion for the game, their character, their integrity, their ability to be coachable. I think a lot of those aspects are things that I'm looking for. It's sure the number matters. It does. I'm not going to lie about that, but there's aspects again of the leadership, of their mental toughness, of other things that I look for, so that in the moment of competition, they're ready to handle whatever's thrown at them in terms of what happens on the golf course when they play. They got to also be a great fit for being a teammate. I mean, so all of those things. We do have a big pool to pick from to be able to create that. You don't want to take away or limit opportunities because it's no fun to have to tell someone, hey, I can't have you out just because we don't want to. But it's we got to create as much as we can of all of those aspects, because in the end of the year, as you'll kind of probably get to, I would imagine, is that we got to have the best 6 guys at the state tournament or what that final ending looks like, and to have that faith and trust in each other to compete at the highest possible level by the end. So, we do things during the summer. We see kids play in summer competitions. We do things together as a team, whether it's practices on the range or, competition days, play days as I call them, to the point of then we have tryouts to help kind of identify the 16 to 20 kids that we feel are best, that are going to represent the JV varsity, and the 12 to 16 that are the 9-10 team that we think are going to help our program as a whole represent Northwest at the highest possible level.
So when you're at those tryouts, obviously, usually you'll have a decent idea of like who your, at least guys who are in your top 10. I would probably say
Sure.
Generally your top 8 who are going to be fighting for that varsity spot. When it
Yeah.
comes to those lower, obviously the people who are like just making the cut for that JV or like just on the right around varsity, for those guys, are you more looking at obviously scores are, a lot of people are going to have similar ones, but are you more looking for like their ability to like mesh with everyone, like kind of be more of a team player, or just more of like the level that they could be at or improvement, whether like a freshman who could have good potential?
Yeah, I mean, I would say during those tryout moments and some of that, it's hard to tell the team aspect of it a little bit, but you can really see someone's character. You can see someone's ability to handle the moment or how they're going to go through it. People that I've met have always said, one of the best interviews you could give somebody is to take them out golfing, because you can see all those character attributes show up besides their ability to play. So I really, when a tryout's going on, it's my job to try to go around and watch and again see what someone's decisions are. What if they're in trouble or we're in this situation, how do they execute what they're trying to do? What did they try to do? Sometimes you're not going to execute it perfectly. I'm well aware of how hard this game is. So again, it might not be perfect, but did they make the right choice? Did they handle the adversity well? Did they bounce back? Did they make 2 doubles in a row and then all of a sudden they, are 1 under the rest of the day? All of those are factoring into things that I'm looking for in a decision, whether it's just also watching a swing and their basic fundamentals and the way they go about it, knowledge of the rules and just their attitude and their body language can tell so much about a young person. Because even the better of the player, I'm looking for those same things. I want to make sure that better player knows that regardless if they feel that they're better than another, they still have to exemplify those traits too. They have to be able to make good decisions. They have to be able to it. Because again, even though they might score better one day, that doesn't guarantee them a spot anywhere. Because even if I can identify someone who's a better player at one time, it doesn't mean that the other player is going to continue to be behind them. They can very much have that advancement. So it does get hard, especially when you're, down to the last few where you're like, okay, this is the 16 to 25. There's probably not much difference. So it's continuing to see, and sometimes I've just made the decision to keep more guys, and that's best for our program, and sometimes so far it's been maybe some less guys. It just depends on what we think is going to be best for now and also in the future that we make those decisions for.
So now that you kind of have your roster, when it comes to in-season adjustments, because I know this will probably be more like that mid-game where you're kind of figuring out what people are competing for, getting the spots for the 1 through 6.
Yep.
And so how do you make the decisions when it comes to the in-season adjustments? Are you looking strictly off scores? Because I'm guessing everyone's going to have an off day, so how do you kind of look at that?
Oh yeah, it's an overall grand scheme. It's trying to get as many kids on the golf course as we can. I think this year has been a little bit more unique where we've had a pretty core set of 5 guys that have kind of been in a position where they've separated themselves a little bit. But I would say in the first 4 years here, I probably have still seen about 9 to 10 guys every year playing a varsity meet. Yeah. Because it's, again, about creating those opportunities, developing the team, developing and having knowledge of that. Even though you score 4 of 6, I've been in too many situations where the 5th score, the 6th score matters because that's a tiebreaker a lot of times. And the depth and the ability to have the entire team be able to produce is huge. So trying to create as many of those events, whether it's at the varsity level, whether it's at the JV level, whether it's at, again, the in-course practices, the on-the-range practices where we're competing, is trying to see all of those aspects because, again, as I was able to take the girls' job, it was a perfect example, again, of why those team elements matter. The girls took state runner-up this year because our 5th score was the tiebreaker. It makes a difference, and I think that trying to create that lineup change as many times as we can to give opportunities, and the kids, I think, have done a good job seeing that. Is, we got to fight for our spot. We got to fight for what's best for our team, and to have as many chances is huge. So to create those has been really important for our program, I think, and it has made our depth very, very good compared to a lot of the other schools that have really good players, incredibly good players. But I love the fact that I know that when I took 6 guys to an event, I have 6 guys that anybody can give me a score on any day because somebody's going to have an off day. And I love that about our bunch.
When it comes to when you have to make those decisions, how do you handle having the difficult conversations with players? Because they're not professionals by any means, they're not on scholarship at your college. Yep. So whether it's performance issues or just whether or not you play them as a 6th or they're getting moved from the 1 to the 3 or something.
Yeah, I try to be as honest as I can. And I think that starts with me, again, trying to emphasize team at the beginning. It doesn't matter what level you are at. When your number is called and name is called, to be able to be a part of that. Be ready to perform and be part of that. If your name wasn't, it doesn't matter. It's going to be something that you have to be ready to do it again because the opportunity is going to present itself. It's not easy, but being honest and being upfront and trying to communicate as well as I can. And I think the kids see that and hopefully recognize that, again, it's for our team what we're doing. This is not a summer Iowa Section Junior PGA event where you're doing it for you. This is you're representing Northwest and the best we can for our team. So it's something that I think the communication, the honesty, and knowing where they stand is big, and just constantly reiterating that the team is our focus. And I think, again, we've been blessed with kids that have really understood that and are ready to go whenever they're called, I guess. whether it's a JV meet or a varsity meet. They're ready to go and ready to compete. So it's been awesome because of that, and hopefully I'm able to continue to do that with them with just that honesty and that communication so that they know how to keep getting better, how they're going to continue to contribute, because they do. I know it's hard to see it, but again, the last guy on the roster is still contributing to the team because of what they're doing to compete in practice, to their attitude, the mindset, and support that they provide for one another.
Yeah. So kind of approaching like the end game, which are kind of like your later seasons, where most of the time you're kind of like final roster. Obviously, you kind of have yours now, but kind of going to playoffs, like during your high pressure moments where they're trying to qualify for state or even in state, like how do you advise your players, obviously based on your experience qualifying for amateurs, to stay focused and calm?
Yeah, it's hopefully what we've done in practice and all season and all the time of that focus on the focused effort in practice, the attitude that they are able to keep and have, that they've done so much competitive things, they've done so much of preparing for what could happen on a golf course, and the way that they, again, know that the next shot is the most important, I think has helped them as young people be successful in district meets so far as a program. I think we're still learning how to do it at that state tournament, because again, there is a lot of riding on that one moment that you can have a phenomenal season, have great events, win meets, all that kind of stuff, but in the end, people do remember the state tournament as the ending thing. It's the one thing that kind of is the one that gets hanged up in a rafter. It's the thing that gets put in a display case. It's those moments, I think, that as we've continued to grow as a program, I think we've become more able to handle some of those pressure situations. We do a lot of that in practice where, again, there's an outcome afterward, a consequence if you don't perform or don't hit it, so that the feelings of pressure are hopefully going to be more comfortable. They're never going to go away. You're always going to have that nervous excitement. You're always going to have those moments. But can you take that deep breath? Can you focus in on whatever needs to be executed, and then can you go do it? And that's the challenge that I think all golfers face in those moments. And you got to build on those past experiences so that you can be ready to handle it when that time comes. And I think we got a great group to be able to continue to do that when those opportunities come here in the next couple weeks.
Yeah. So kind of coming to a close, obviously this is probably like halfway around your season, probably more towards the end of it, if I'm correct.
Yep.
What can we expect from, what has the team done so far? Like, what can we kind of expect come playoffs, and for what this team's going to look like in the future?
Yeah, I'll speak on just behalf of golf in general. I hope people listen to this and ask how golf's going for other schools too, because the game of golf that is going on in this state at this level is unbelievable. The average golfer, if you just think of the average person, is in the high 90s to 100 when they go out and play. And in golf, we score 4 of 6. We have, I think there's 13 teams in this state right now that are averaging 300 or better, which means you're having 4 guys shooting 75 or better. And that's phenomenal. I mean, these are 14 to 18-year-old kids that are going out there and just performing at such a high level. It's kind of, again, it's something unique about golf that when you start to see skill develop, it's like when you see massive times year from year in track or cross country get way lower, like somehow just magically get lower. Somebody's just able to do something different on a basketball court or a volleyball court. This has been phenomenal to watch the past couple of years of what these kids are being able to do. Yesterday we had a meet up at Briarwood, and we shot 2 over par as a team. That means we took a 71, a 72, a 73, and a 74. And we beat a team and we beat the next closest by 9. And that's they didn't play bad at all. That's, again, less than 75 a golfer. And, that's what we've seen all year. Valley on Monday this week shot 9 under as a team. And so many of these young people are playing at such a high level and a high skill that we got to be really putting ourselves in a position to do so. We got our district assignment. We'll go out to Bentry and Council Bluffs, where we got to go earn it, because there's so many good players out there and good teams that we got to really make sure that all 6 people are engaged, they're focused, they have the right attitude going into it because, again, in that moment of the district meet, sometimes that's even harder than the state tournament because it's a win or go home. State you kind of accomplished and you arrived at, but in the district meet, on I think it's October the 7th. I'm excited for our kids. I think we got a great group of 19 guys that go to practice every day and I think are ready to do it. And I'm excited for what's ahead of them. I think they've done a good job growing throughout the year. They're not always going to have a best day, but I think that, again, our philosophy has always been, what are we doing to progress? So at the end of the year, when it's the conference tournament, when it's districts, and when it's a state tournament, that we are playing our best golf. And I think that they've done a great job every year of getting to that point where at the end of the year we are playing our best golf, and I'm excited to see that come to fruition here in a couple weeks. So excited to look forward to it.
Well, thanks so much for coming on and just talking about golf and everything. So,
yeah, thanks for having me. This is great. I hope that all the coaches and sponsors and everybody here can keep sharing some of those stories. And again, just recognizing the great kids we have here at Northwest is pretty special to see. So,
thank you, Coach.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks again to Coach Combs for coming on the show. You can find all information about the boys golf team on their Twitter or X, which will be linked in the show notes. The next meet is the CIML Conference, which is on Wednesday, October 2nd at Otter Creek in Ankeny. This is Behind the Huddle, and until next time.